Hey guys, a few of you have asked if I would do some budget or finance videos regarding vacation planning, and some of you asked if I would share how we budget for our meals while on vacation. So I thought I would include all of that in this video. And John is here with me because we usually plan our vacations together, and John really enjoys booking our plane tickets and hotels and kind of mapping the course if we're driving. So I mentioned that I was going to do this video and he said that he would help me. So this is our first video like this, so bear with us. When we plan a vacation, we like to plan well in advance, and I think that is really important so that you're not stuck trying to find plane tickets at the last minute, so you can really look for the best deals. You can have your finances all figured out so you know how much money you need to set aside and you're not, going into debt because of vacation or anything like that. So we have lots of tips to share with you on ways that we plan and save money along the way during our vacation.
To begin with, you want to pick out your destination, so you want to make sure that you know where you're going. We'll typically do this about a year in advance, have a plan for where we want to visit, and also that gives us an opportunity to budget and save for the trip. So each springtime we have obviously our tax return, and also I get a commission check from work around that time, so part of that money gets set aside as a vacation fund, so that way we have the money in the bank for what we want to do. And then at that point we start to narrow down, exactly where we want to go, whether we're going to fly there or drive there, and that'll help us with some of the other considerations about hotels and some of the expenses with the trip.
Also, if you don't have, a large income tax return, or if you don't have a large commission check that comes in once a year or something like that, some ways that you can save up for a vacation is get a rough estimate of how much you plan to spend, or how much you can put aside each month, and then just add it up, multiply it by 12 and see what you can spend on a vacation. And that way you're not planning a vacation and then realize that you don't have enough, and just kind of look around and see what the cost of the hotels in the area that you plan to go to are, or what the cost of renting a condo is, a rough estimate of the plane tickets, and that way you have an idea, because sometimes we don't realize how much everything adds up until we really get going, and that way you won't disappoint your family members if you start planning for a vacation that you really can't afford. So say you know that you want to spend $3,000 or something like that, then you can just divide that out by 12 and put that amount of money away. You could use a bonus from work, like John mentioned. You could use part of your income tax return or things like that, or maybe you have money set aside for these things and you're ready to spend it.
Another thing you want to narrow down is whether or not you're going to fly or drive. If you're going to fly, then obviously you have the plane tickets that you have to keep in mind. And if I'm going to fly, typically what I'll do is go on Priceline. I really recommend the site because they have a lot of options where you can do tickets, hotels, and rental cars all together, or a combination of those things. So I like to use them. They have some unique ability to combine everything at a really good price. So typically also, if you're going to do it directly through an airline, you want to have it at least 2 to 3 months out, or maybe even more from your trip time. That gives you an opportunity to kind of compare rates and things like that. And normally midweek is a better time of the week to try to book the flight. For whatever reason, the airlines have lower prices at certain times, so sometimes you have to monitor the prices for a while to see what is the going rate, and then you'll be able to tell what is a bargain when you see it.
Another thing to keep in mind when you are flying is the cost of baggage. Things have changed a lot over the years, and most airlines now charge for baggage. I'm sure a lot of you know that. The flight that we had, we were allowed to bring one suitcase for $25, but it could not weigh over 50 pounds. And I have a little tip that, I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's hard to judge, what 50 pounds is. My suitcase is a beast and I can fit so much stuff in there, which is great. But if I pack it too much, it's going to weigh too much. So what I usually do is weigh myself on the scale so I can get an exact weight, and then I will hold my suitcase and then weigh myself again. And if it's more than 50 pounds, then I know that I have to, take some things out of my suitcase. And that way I'm not at the airport getting charged $100 for the bag, which is what Delta prices are, instead of the 25. So that's just a good thing to remember. Sometimes 50 pounds might not seem like what it really is, and then you get stuck paying that at the airport and your suitcase is already packed. So just weigh your suitcase before your flight.
Whether you're going to fly or drive is also another big consideration in terms of the cost of a hotel. Because frequently, especially if you go to a big city, there's a large parking fee to park your car. We've seen them anywhere from $25 a day up to about $65 a day. So if you're going to drive, you always need to factor that in as well with your hotel price, because a lot of people are shocked to find out that hotels charge that much if you're in the city. So sometimes if you're close by, you can take a train to your hotel, or if you fly, it's not really that big of an issue if you're just going to walk around the town. So for example, we're in Michigan and Chicago is relatively close to us, so when we go there we just take a train. It takes us to the train station, and then we're able to take a cab over to the hotel, and then we just walk around the city and get transportation back to the train station. So if we're going to go farther away, like California, New York, or something like that, then we're going to fly at that point and just arrange transportation to the hotel.
For us, it's a lot cheaper to just take a train to Chicago because we really don't use our car once we're there, because everything is in walking distance and we stay right in the city. And that way we don't have to worry about parking our car. So we save a lot of money that way, and we save money on gas too, because it's really inexpensive to just take a train. So that's something to look into as well.
When I start looking for a hotel, normally what I'm going to do is look at the ones we prefer. So typically that's Hyatt, but we also do Marriott's and their partner hotels. It's totally up to you if you like Hilton or Best Western or Ritz-Carlton or whatever you like. That's fine. What I typically do is I'll look for that hotel's rewards program. Most of them have it. Hyatt, for example, has their Gold Passport program, and basically with that you get points as you stay at the hotels, and also there are various upgrades and things like that that they can give you just because you're a member. So I highly recommend that even if you don't have any rewards programs in place, if you're going to book a trip, same thing with the flight or your other planning, start a couple months out from your trip at least. That way you can book your hotel and get your rooms before it starts getting crazy, especially if you're trying to do something around a weekend or a holiday. You want to have all that stuff planned out well in advance. And another way that the rewards and things like that really start to build up is if you use the credit cards associated with those hotels. So Hyatt and Marriott and all these different hotels have a Visa or MasterCard or American Express that goes along with their hotel. Now, as a disclaimer, if you're not comfortable using credit cards or you don't use them, that's fine. You certainly don't have to. What we do is when we put money on these cards for the rewards that we get, we pay them off when the bill comes. So that's kind of my disclaimer. So I'm not advocating that you get 20 hotel credit cards and charge your vacation. So we again have that money set aside before we go on vacation. But just as an example, like the Hyatt and the Marriott programs, if you have their credit card also, sometimes there is an annual fee, like $75, $85, but you also, just by having that card, you get a free night each year. So you get that, and then some, like the Hyatt card through Chase, when you sign up for that card, they will give you 2 free nights to any of their hotels in the world. So on our last California trip, we actually used 2 nights that Jennifer had that were the free anywhere nights, and then I had points enough for 3 free nights at other cities that we were at. So with that, we had 5 of our 10 hotel nights paid for. So that's just another example of how we try to save money and pre-plan. So, you know, all year long I'm saving those points and kind of planning what we're going to do, instead of, you know, trying to get something together at the last minute and then paying, you know, full price for everything.
It's definitely beneficial to find a hotel chain that you really like, because like John mentioned, you can use up points even if you don't use the credit cards. Marriott, for example, has a point system, and it does take a little bit longer if you don't use the credit card plan, but you can definitely, you know, save up your points to get free nights. Another thing, I think John mentioned this, but if you watched our vlogs while we were on vacation, we often were upgraded to nice rooms with a view and everything, and we didn't have to pay anything extra for that. And we also got free Wi-Fi, even if it wasn't available to all the hotel guests. We got that for free, and some of them charged, you know, $10 a day, so that's just an extra thing. We got free parking at some of the hotels that we stayed at. We did have to pay for a couple nights of parking, but it really saved us a lot of money in hotel costs.
That's another thing that I'm typically looking for with a hotel is I try, if at all possible, to get something that offers a free breakfast. A lot of the more expensive hotels don't do that, but what you can do is when you're booking that hotel, you can look on their site for different discounts and packages that they have. I always put my AAA number in. You'll get a discount almost every time using AAA if you have it. And then also, if the hotel does not include breakfast, then I will try to book the room with a bed and breakfast package. So the San Diego Hyatt that we were at, we only added on, I think, like $20 or $30 a night for breakfast for both of us, and the actual bill was like double that each day. So it's a good way to save money and get a good breakfast at the same time.
And that might seem like a lot for breakfast, because at home I could make my own breakfast for like $1 or a couple dollars, but they had an enormous breakfast, so we would fill up and that would be a full meal, and then we would just wait and eat dinner later. So it is a way to save money instead of going out to breakfast or getting a small breakfast and then you have to eat lunch and dinner.
There's also a vacation you can take where you rent a condo or townhouse or house or whatever it might be, and we also do that. This next year we'll go back to the North Carolina area where we rent a condo, and we have some folks that we've met there on a previous trip, and we now rent their condo from them. So there's some local kind of stuff like that that you can do, but also there are websites on the internet where you can look up, you know, basically for rent by owner type of thing for condos. And that's another good way if you want to keep the cost down. It's not always cheap to do that. The one we rent is not cheap, but at the same time you're able to stay there in one place the whole time. We'll typically have our breakfast and lunch right there in the condo, so Jennifer will go grocery shopping, you know, as soon as we get into town, and then we have everything for the whole week. So that helps to save money, but we do go out to eat for dinner, so that's where we're making up for the savings.
Yeah. A lot of you asked how we budget for meals on vacation, and I did a video in which I showed all of our meals that we had while we were on vacation, and our last vacation to California was just John and I, in case you haven't watched any of those. We planned to pay for 2 meals each day because we were staying in hotels and I had no way to cook our own food, And normally when you order food at a restaurant, you get so much that you really only need 2 full meals, and then we had snacks and things throughout the day. And what we did was, if you watched the video in which I showed what we ate, some days we ate at places like Chipotle, or one night we had In-N-Out Burger, and then other nights we ate at places that were a lot more expensive, and some were kind of in between. So we kind of factored that in, that we couldn't eat at the really expensive fancy restaurants every single night, but we did want to eat at some of those and try some of the local food there. So we set a budget for about $75 a day, and that allowed us to eat some of the cheaper meals and kind of make up for some of the more expensive meals, because some days we went way over the $75 a day, and then some days we were way under. So we kind of knew, you know, how much to budget. So we were gone for 10 days, and $75 a day was like $750, and that way we knew exactly, you know, where we were at, and we had enough money. We were able to enjoy ourselves. And like I mentioned, we just filled up at breakfast, or if we went out to lunch, you know, they give you so much food, and we were fine with just, you know, having fruit and snacks in the car. And that is that's one good way to do it, so that you can still enjoy yourself, but you're not spending, you know, gobs of money. And if you are in a condo, like John mentioned, we always go grocery shopping right away when we get there, and just get all of the breakfast things that we're going to use, you know, fruits and vegetables, lunch things, and then we just eat everything there, and then we go out to dinner, because when we go to North Carolina, we really want to be able to enjoy the local food there, all of the seafood and everything. So, you know, that's one way that we are able to do that. Now, if you are on a stricter budget, you can just make all of your dinners in your condo and save money that way, and you don't have to go out to eat at all. Another thing that we did, you know, when you're on vacation, you want to enjoy lots of treats and things like that. And my boys and John love ice cream, so we would just go to the grocery store and buy ice cream, and it was so much cheaper to just have it in the condo instead of going to an ice cream place, you know, a couple times or every night of the vacation. And that was just another way that we saved. Another thing that we did, we do this often, for example, when we went to the zoo, we read online that the food was very expensive at the zoo, and we saw the prices, and it was. And a lot of places like that are very expensive to eat at, because they know you're in there and you're hungry, and if you leave, you leave, and you know, you're kind of forced to pay those prices. So what we did, we had a huge breakfast right before we went to the zoo. We brought some bananas and apples, and we had our water bottles, and that way we didn't have to pay for anything at the zoo except for our tickets to get in, and then we ate dinner once we left. So just keep in mind all of those things, and that way you're not, you know, spending money on things that are way overpriced, and you can spend your money on things that you really enjoy, like that fancy dinner out, really good seafood, or things like that.
Another thing we do with our food is we save up gift cards throughout the year, or, you know, before we go. So a number of different points programs can be used for this. We do our banking at PNC, and they have a really good points program where, as you accumulate charges and what have you, build up points, and you can redeem them for, you know, retail gift cards or dining or whatever. But it really helps if you're going to go somewhere, you know, it's, you know, $50, $75, $100 to eat there. You can save up the gift cards in advance, and that will help a lot with the budget if you have programs like that. And some of the credit cards, if you use them, might already have points programs, and you just might not be aware of them. But you can check into that, or some of the other ones that I had mentioned.
There are also some, you know, non-credit card ways to get gift cards. My Points is another one. What you do is you kind of sign up, and they send you all these emails, and you just kind of click through, and you get 5 points each time. You can do surveys if you happen to have time. I don't really ever do those. And it takes a while for the points to, you know, build up to the point where you can cash them in and get gift cards, but it's free, and all you have to do is click click through emails, and some of you probably do that already, but there are just a lot of things. You can do a Google search and find different ways that you can get free things. Another thing to do is to really plan your activities during your vacation. So last year we went to New York City as a family, and most things that you do there are expensive unless you're just strolling through Central Park or walking around Times Square or something like that. But our boys had never been there, and we wanted to take them to the top of the Empire State Building and do all of these things, go see the Statue of Liberty and things like that. So we wanted to make sure that we planned all of that in our budget, and John found that the best way to do that was to get a city pass.
Yeah, city pass, it's basically it's available in almost every big city. You just go online. If you type in New York City Pass, or San Francisco City Pass, or Chicago City Pass, and what it's going to do is it'll give you like 20 different attractions. Go into the Chicago Aquarium, go into one of the top of the buildings, those type of things, museums. And what you're able to do is, if you pick 2 or 3 or 4 things that you want to do, that you know for sure that you're going to do, then it makes sense to get the city pass, because then it gives you all the other attractions as well for free. So that way you're saving money, you're getting a bunch of attractions in, and that's a good way to do it. But if you only think you're going to do like 1 or 2 things, because sometimes, like in our California trip, I purposely didn't overschedule our trip, because I just wanted to go out there, and we'd never been to California, just wanted to look around and see things and not have a really regimented vacation. So most days we just had like one thing planned, and we could do whatever we wanted with the rest of the day. So I didn't get a city pass there, because all we did in San Diego was the zoo, in San Francisco, Alcatraz, so we didn't have a lot of things jammed into our schedule.
Also keep in mind to purchase your tickets in advance. A lot of things might not be available right when you get there and your whole family wants to go, to see the Statue of Liberty, or, to go to the top of the Statue of Liberty or something. So look up all the things that you can, and that way you're doing your homework before you get there, and you don't have to waste your time trying to figure everything out, and also you know exactly how much you're going to spend. You can even look up if it costs money to park at the zoo, or if it costs money to ride the ferry here, and that way you'll know everything that you need to budget, and you won't have to waste your time sitting there planning while you're trying to enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, and typically where I'll find these reviews and this information are on some sites like Yelp or TripAdvisor. Priceline is really good to read the reviews about hotels. That's how I kind of narrow it down if I haven't been to one that's on the site or one that I'm looking at. But Yelp is very helpful for all kinds of things, not just restaurants, but you can type in like a park or a place like the San Diego Zoo or something like that, and they'll just give you all kinds of information from the Yelpers on there. They'll tell you about their experiences and point out little tips like, you have to watch how much the food costs. You might want to bring your own or eat before or something like that. And when it comes to souvenirs and shopping, typically what we'll do is set a budget for that as well. If we're all going as a family, Jennifer and I will have some of our own money that we take along. Sometimes we'll take some money out of the vacation budget and distribute it to everybody. Not a lot, but enough so that you have some spending money while we're there. And typically when it comes to souvenirs, like if we go on a trip together, we'll bring something back for the kids, but we don't do anything extravagant. We'll just get something that's a little memorabilia piece from where we went. And as far as shopping is concerned, typically we like to shop in some of the cities that we go to, and so we'll just have some of that money set aside. That's our limit, when we're shopping, unless there's something like super special that we want. We found one thing in San Francisco that we bought.
It was like a house type thing, so
yeah.
It was something special that we wouldn't be able to buy here, but everything else is in our
we'll typically stay in the budget, so we're not going out and just like, oh, I just found this you know, this beautiful watermelon tray or something like that.
Watermelon tray.
You know, like you just make an impulse buy. So we try to have everything, you know, scheduled out in terms of the budget, and also we try not to, at least I do, we try not to do a lot of shopping at stores that we can shop at here back at home. So if you're at TJ Maxx or something in some place and you're buying tons of stuff that you might not be able to fit into your suitcase, or you're going to pack your car out or something like that, we'll just do your shopping when you get back home at that store that you can normally shop at anyway. Just by doing these different things, it really helps, and it makes vacation a little more affordable. I know some people don't go on vacations very often, but if you plan in advance and save points and get a plan in mind, a lot of times you can do a vacation, even if it's just for a weekend, to a city like Chicago or somewhere you like to go, for a lot less than you think it would actually cost.
Well, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.